Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Ryann Halo. She is a multi seven figure entrepreneur and founder of Salon Halo Saloons, which specializes in education and personal development. She's also the founder of Halo Consulting, a leading growth strategy firm for small businesses. Welcome to the show, Ryann.
Thank you so much, AJ. Great to be on here with you.
Well, you are welcome to the show, Ryann. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are talking about. We'll be learning from you about scaling to multi-million-dollar success. But before that, let's understand your journey about your success, journey to success, such a big success like this. So tell us a bit about you, how it all started.
Yes. So most people, they hear about my story, or they see where I am at this time in my life, and they assume that I always wanted to do this or that I must have always known. And that's actually quite the opposite. So growing up, I come from a smaller town, lower middle class family. And my mom was the responsible parent. My dad was kind of like the fun one that would let us eat candy at night and that kind of thing. So growing up, I tested into the Gifted Honors program very young, and the definition of success became that I would go to a prestigious college and maybe be a lawyer, some type of fancy, title and degree. And I very much believed that that was the only way that I was going to make the most of my potential. So a little bit more time goes by. My mom and dad did get divorced, but they stayed very amicable and continued to co-parent us. It was me and my little brother. And it was fine. I had nothing to complain about. That's 2 Christmases, that's 2 sets of toys. A few more years went by, and my mom got her first boyfriend that she had in many years since she had been divorced. And I think it was a combination of that. And my dad had not really taken off in his life. He was living far from his family that was up in New York, and just not feeling good. And he actually succumbed to mental health breakdown and took the life of my 6-year-old brother and himself. And my mom, as you can imagine, that totally turned her world upside down, as well as the rest of our family. She went from being a successful nurse to no longer working and struggling with prescription addiction. And then for me, that just completely left me to figure out how to just go day to day, So yeah, that was the big fracture point in my path. And eventually I got so far behind in school that I had to drop out. I was so far behind in credits that I no longer was able to keep up. And that was the darkest point for me, because I was so attached to that vision of success being college. Being told you're a smart girl, this is how you make the most of it. I found myself living outside of my home with some not great people in a very dangerous situation. And fortunately got offered a job for $25 a day to be an assistant to a hairstylist. And I think it would have been easy for a lot of people to go, oh, $25 a day. That's not even minimum wage. I'm not doing that. But for me, it was something. Anything was better than where I was. Anything was better than nothing. So what I learned very quickly in this position was that if I applied myself with the skill set that I had that made me successful in school, that made me successful in other areas of my life, to this singular focus, that I was making $50 a day, $100 a day. Those tips were growing. Other hairstylists wanted to have me to help them. The owner decided to start paying me when I wasn't working with the other stylists. So it just showed me very quickly that my energy, enthusiasm, and approach to things would lead to success in whatever route I was going in.
Absolutely. So what were the things that you learned while working in that salon? Energy success was good, but in terms of the business part, was it that because you dropped out of school, 10th grade, and then you went to do the salon thing and you learned a lot of things? So I want to understand, what was it that you learned by default, and what was it that you learned by extension? because you obviously must have not forgotten about going to that higher ground that you had emphasized for yourself earlier on.
Yes, yes, that's a great question. Thank you. So, with there were a few components that really ignited me, and I saw and learned. One was my stylist that was mentoring me was highly systemized. So she would write down every single formula. She had a very specific time block per service. She knew how much money she was making a minute. And that was a completely different approach to the beauty industry than I had seen previously. It always had seemed very casual in the salons that I was around growing up. So that was a huge takeaway. Like, this was a well-oiled machine, the way she worked. And then on top of that, I got to learn specifically about the beauty industry and the hairdressing side of things, that there is chemistry, there is geometry, there is active ingredient and science. There's so much I can learn about that a lot of hairstylists didn't take the time to learn. So they would just do the minimum, get by, have good conversations with people. But me, I'm being somewhat of a nerd and I did love the beauty industry. I was able to really meld my left and my right brain together to just maximize my potential in that industry. So doing the research, learning, systemizing, and then with my time, I always wanted to be busy. So I did things that nobody asked me to do because I enjoyed productivity. So this is stuff like cleaning out underneath the sink in the break room that nobody had done in 5 years. And that led to unexpected promotions that I wasn't doing it for that reason. And then the last thing that I really learned that I had not understood up until that point was the value of customer service and taking care of people and being of service. The more I just gave, whether it was the other team members or it was the clients, it led to higher measures of success. And at that time, that was money. So, yeah.
And then after that, how did you scale up your career from that point in time? Because one can just sit pretty and enjoy that particular moment, earn more. You had the promotion. What was the life after that, or how long did you stay at that place?
Well, there was. I'll tell you the honest situation that occurred. Every time that I thought I knew what direction I was going in, I think God would be like, "Oh no, just get, you're going on this one," and keep forcing my vision to expand and what I was willing to accept. So I actually got accused of stealing clips and capes, which is like so outrageous because I don't have to get into the details, but that was, out of all the things you would steal, first of all, that wouldn't be, but second of all, I was making great money. I had a lot of reverence for the owner. I was so hurt, honestly. But now I'm so many years ahead, 20 years it's been or so, looking back, I see all these things led me to a better next step. Whereas maybe I would have spent more time in that position, but not have gained the momentum that I did. So getting fired basically from there led me to sign up for hair school. So I was 16 signing up for hair school. That's a huge head start. And I probably would have waited maybe a year, 2, 3 years to do that. So at 16, I am so motivated. I'm so passionate. I'm so excited. I'm staying late. I'm coming early. It was very hard to get into school. I didn't have a license. I didn't have, the parental support that I could have had. And we just found so many ways to overcome these seeming roadblocks. So I was driving I was getting driven because I didn't have a car or a license. I was getting driven by another student an hour there and an hour home. And fast forward, that person is now one of my core team members and was in my wedding party. So, these little gifts over the time with somebody I would have never probably been friends with otherwise. Very different at the time. So it led me to going to the school path, getting a really phenomenal education, which prepared me to then do what I thought was my next step, which was to go to a big city and be a freelance editorial artist. Because I was like, all right, that's the path. Now I'm going to do this. I'm out in Chicago for a couple years. I was on that path. It was going well. It was fun. It was like college, but with no homework. And I'm just meeting people and experiencing new things, new cultures, new food, everything. So from a small town to this big city, it was wonderful. Another pivot in the path popped up when back in my hometown, which I vowed I would never move back to. It was 2011. It was the height of the opiate epidemic. Lots of people losing their life, losing their soul to this situation. I'm about to be 21. It's a week before my 21st birthday, and I got a phone call. It was my grandma telling me that my aunt's hair salon was going out of business. There was no more employees. There was no more really clients. She had a lot of personal things going on, and she was walking away from it. And at one time it had been one of the nicest salons in town. And I said, heck no, no, I am not moving back right before I turn 21, right before the summer starts in Chicago. Like, no way. And then I had to pause and really think about the fact that I can always come back to Chicago, but I cannot always own my first business at 21. And I knew that if I did it, I was going to be successful. Like I have that determination that if I do something and I believe in it, I will do it. So that was 13 years ago now that I moved back to my small hometown and started from literally nothing, almost less than nothing, and had this vision to bring a thing that did not exist, which was a luxury salon with a very accepting culture of we don't think we're the coolest or better than anybody. You know, we want to do great things for ourselves and our community and charge, a livable professional wage, but we're still going to be inclusive. We're still you don't have to all look the same, act the same. Clients, you can't come there and be a diva. And so, yeah, it was culture. It was doing something that nobody else had really believed would work in that town. And then sticking with it and continuously looking to learn and fill in the gaps. And both me as a person and as a business, I had to look at where are the weaknesses? Where am I struggling? It was things like communication, leadership, personally, that was my thing, my blind spot. And I had to lean into that by following the clues. If something continuously isn't working, that's breadcrumbs. What do I have to figure out and go fix and patch so I can move on? And then I literally have a book right here. This was not planned, but this was one of the many business development things I did to learn at 22, 23 years old, how to I knew how to do hair and I knew how to be good in a salon, but I didn't know how to measure the success of a salon business. So then that turned into me becoming the coach for my team and really diving into their numbers, really diving into their strategy. And then back to the systems component, creating a system for every single opportunity for them to achieve a goal. So versus I could be just do more hair, do more money, sell more, do better. It's goal one is you want to have a certain amount of sales and service a week. Okay, how do we break that down by days, by clients? And you have an average ticket. How do we lead to your best average ticket? It's a series of steps. It's a system. So I don't know. There's so much to it that I could really expand in any direction that, you think would, anything that you want.
Right. So that is the thing I'm trying to understand for the audience is someone who wants to understand how things happen, how you make them happen. And in business, this is very, very important. So you took over your aunt's salon, and then afterwards, how did it become, go beyond that? That's the story I'm very much interested to understand. You could again be happy in your small place with a luxury salon and just be happy about it, But how did you go beyond that? That's the thing a lot of people would like to understand.
Yeah. Well, one thing about me is I have a fiery passion in me that I always have, no matter what, I have a motivation within me to do better and reach my potential. So what that looks like has evolved a lot, right? When we talked about that, what my potential is. So once I got the salon, my potential developed into the fact that I needed to help other people be successful. So that was one key defining thing, is my measure of success is helping other people. That lends itself very well to scaling a business. So that is one of my core principles, is you have to have leadership and you have to be in service to your team. and help them overcome whatever their blind spot is, or whatever, or help them reach whatever their definition of success is. Because if you have the same broad thing, you want everybody to fit in the box of yours. Like if my version of success for my team was being a $100,000 stylist and working 50 hours a week and doing the most they could, not everybody's going to fit into that box. And that's not in service of them. That's in service of me. So I have to look and be in service of my team members. So that's one huge part that allowed us to expand in an industry that is notorious for, low retention numbers, drama, that kind of thing. Continuing to be open to pivot, I think, is a theme in my story. Seeing something. So my plan was the one salon. I didn't necessarily plan to open more. And then an opportunity to open another one popped in my lap, and I said yes. And then it happened again, and I said yes. And so I was open and flexible, but I still had a strong goal. So those things kind of seem oppositional to some people, but they do. You have to be flexible, but know what you want.
Right. And how did you get into this consulting part, Halo Consulting? Was it along with that, or is it a separate organization altogether?
Yeah, so it's right in line with the theme of being of service to other people. My definition of success being helping other people. Now we're going on 13 years in business. We've developed so many tools and structures and a framework that has been proven successful that people would constantly ask me, how are you able to achieve XYZ? So I knew I was being called to do this for years now, because I kept putting it off. I was like, no, they need me at the salon. Like I have to do these other things. So finally, I just couldn't deny it anymore. And my team was in such a good place. I have a COO. I've been able to kind of pass off most of my leadership duties to. And I'm following my calling to help more people. And I want to always influence the maximum amount of people that I can through the stuff that I've gone through and then overcame. So if I can help somebody go through a little less or overcome something a little faster, that's what I want to do. And then it also plays into my need to provide my team members a next step. There's a lot of stylists that have reached very high top levels of success in the beauty industry, really done everything they want to do, and now they're ready to progress. So I don't ever want somebody that agreed to be on my team to feel like they have either outgrown it or they've reached a ceiling and they can't grow more, because growth is one of our core values.
Absolutely. So how did you bring this sort of a team structure in place into your organization? Because it's very difficult. Also, at the same time, competition also comes in. They understand what are your strong points, your weak points, and they may try to take your best people at any point in time. So how did you deal with this? What would you suggest to others? How do you maintain your team, keep your team intact, as well as keep the systemization part also there and bring in the revenues?
There are definitely a lot of directions I can take that question in, but the biggest component of that is that we hire for shared core values. So I do not chase the most talented, the most productive stylists. We don't hire those stylists with the big ego that think they know it all, even if they are super successful. Like that's great, but what our business stands on is core values. And that's part of my grow and glow method when I consult with other businesses across multiple different industries. Is what you are there to do is your mission statement. Why you are doing it is your core values. If you can align those things, the rest is just details. I really look at humans. I know we evolved from a tribal society, and I still think that rings true in how we choose to gather and spend our time and who we work with, who we hang out with. And I think of those principles when I develop a lot of how we do things in the business. And if a team member comes to me and they want to be their best selves and they want to be of service to other people and they like working in a collaborative environment, then they're a great fit. And we can teach them hair. We can teach them so many things. We can teach them etiquette. And that's why We have the education component on our salon. And it's also personal and professional development because they're not separate. Like if you're unhappy at home, or if you have terrible communication skills or a terrible time management, like you're not going to be successful even if you do the most beautiful haircut and color. So having people that care about being the best overall, having people that care about making the community and themselves better, all of those things are what built with a really strong core. And then we were able to slowly expand and build on that. Because I could have probably grown faster, but not as sturdy if I had deviated from those core values. But that's your North Star. That has to be it.
Right, right. So you talked about that, counting every minute. What are your input costs and output you are getting out of it. When you do in an industry like this, is it challenging for, because people come there to relax, and here you are trying to upsell them? So how does it work? Does it work well, or you face challenges? How do you balance both the things?
So as I mentioned, there's an ideal team member. There's also an ideal client. So we're not chasing every team member. We're not chasing every client. So we are very true to what we offer and why we offer it. The clientele that is attracted to our company is the client that is very savvy on what is possible for them and what they want, and that they want to learn. Maybe they don't know, but they want to learn, and they want the best, and they want to be a part of the process. They don't want to just get the usual and slap some color on, they're in, they're out. They want to see the top tier professionals that are highly educated, that are going to be of service to them through discussing their challenges, their wants, and their needs. And then all we do is explain to them what's possible for them. And then they love that. So the average client that wants to just get in and out is not going to enjoy our experience, but they're not the people we're here to serve.
Right. What are the main challenges that you face during this whole process, apart from the personal ones and others, but in terms of the business challenges, and you dealt with them?
One of the biggest things, I don't know, at least the thing that stands out as the most rocky experience was my challenge in leading people from all ages, all emotional intelligence, all different communication styles. So that was my hardest thing, because I'm so strong-willed, and I've achieved success very early and young and quick. And I did it basically all on my own. So I had a very strong opinion about a lot of things. And when people weren't getting in line with that in the first couple of years, I didn't understand why. And then I learned it was all about, there's a lot of components of it, but communication style, personality assessments, like understanding what makes people the way they are, and not everything is black and white to people the way it is to me. So me being a little bit more analytically minded, the artistic people don't communicate quite the same way. So we have to learn how to find the common ground. So that was a huge turning point when I was able to just look at myself first and how I was communicating to get better leadership results. The next thing was doing tons of research on how to analyze the metrics of a business, and not just, letting my accountant do all the bookkeeping. Like I was very involved in the profit and loss, information. I was using that to then inform the systems I would create that the team had to be held accountable to. So in a traditional beauty business, it wasn't, especially 13 years ago, it wasn't that common for a salon owner to be so involved in the numbers. And that was a very big point of differentiation for our team.
Absolutely. And so after having achieved so much of success now, what's the next step? Where do you want to go from here?
Well, with my story and with my love of helping people, and knowing that my story has helped many people that I've shared it with, that's what I want to continue to do. I want to show people what's possible, encourage them to dig in deep to find their best versions of their self, and not be so close-minded about what that looks like. So I'm traveling, nationally and hopefully internationally eventually, to speak to groups of people and share my story, share my my business methodology, and I will take, I'm growing my team to be able to work with a bigger group of consulting clients. I have a lot of interest in working with med spas. I feel like they work well with our structured approach, but still in the beauty industry. So I like to travel. I like to help people, and that's what I'm out here to do now.
Absolutely. There is much to learn from you about business, about the beauty industry, about systemization, and a lot about everything that goes along with this journey that you have undertaken. So, in terms of a lot of people who like to learn more from you, about your salon, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, right now, I personally am most active on Instagram with RYANN_Halo, HALO. So Ryann with 2 N's, Halo on Instagram. And then I do have a website that is not officially launched. You can look up Ryann Halo. You should be able to find my emails all from there. Ryann at Halo Consulting. Halo-consulting, but I'm sure you'll tag it in the notes. Just look me up on Instagram if you want to actually see what I'm doing. Everything else is just it's just a formality.
Absolutely. Nice talking to you. With
Thank
this,
you so much.
With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.